Hey everybody, so we are here in Cold Springs Township. We're actually at where the old village of Cold Springs was. We'll wind up doing a little bit of filming at the Cold Springs Hotel. It was one of those hotels back in the late 1800s, early 1900s that were known for having sort of a healing spring. It was one of those medicinal things, medical practices back in that period of time that's what they did. But this town of Cold Springs is what came along with the hotel. Let's spin this around. So here you can see some of the foundations of the homes that were here. And they're all over the place through here. We're in the Stony Valley. And there's the town of Yellow Springs, Roush Gap, Cold Springs, and Gold Mine. There's also a Rattling Run. So you'll find all these little villages along here. And it really is a unique bit of history. Here we have a very well-defined building. Missy is saying, I believe this was like post office. It had some kind of important relevance, buildings for the public. But this is what remains of Cold Springs. And over here is an even more impressive structure, or the foundations thereof. What this was exactly, I'm not sure, but I'll have to look. I have a book from Lebanon County Historical Society that is on the Cold Springs Mountain Hotel. And just how neat this was. But all throughout here, you will find structures just like this, the foundations of the homes. We're going to be going down this way on the left on the trail. There's some pretty cool stuff in the creek. So here we are at the Cold Spring. The spring itself is up there. There's a grate over top, but here you can see some of the waterworks, the stonework that go around the spring coming down through here. And this would have been considered one of those healing springs. It's just more really extraordinary history here in Cold Springs. So here we have what would be the ruins of the Cold Springs Hotel. This is just one of those ornate places that it was one of those healing places that people would come to back in, late 1800s, early 1900s. And really is such a neat area back here in Cold Springs, Pennsylvania. Hey everybody, so this is just the end of this video. This was sort of something Missy and I went out today and just to check out a couple different places. Didn't do a ton of filming, but did a little bit of photography. But I did a bunch of shorts in the Grove Family Cemetery, which I'll wind out. Those will be coming up. We also did some other unique shorts and like having to do with then and now, the original Cold Spring Hotel. I do have a video at some time I want to do where I'll go a little more in depth. Well, we'll look at some of the pictures from that time period. But you had some of these unique springs with hotels that were supposed to be healing springs, which it was cool. We got to see the Cold Spring itself, which I hadn't visited before. I didn't necessarily realize at first what it was until Missy said, no, this is actually the Cold Spring spring itself. So it was a cool little hike that we did up through there, and went over to the Hawk Mountain, which is actually Second Mountain, but they call it the Hawk Sanctuary there, and they had a bunch of bird watchers are up there. We actually met a really cool guy named Larry Herr, knew my dad, talked a bunch of really cool history and a bunch of history that I needed to clarify, and he was able to do it. So it's so cool when you meet people like that are very knowledgeable about that part of history, like my dad was. And like I had said to Larry, I think sometimes the sad thing is when I was having a lot of this history thrown my way by my dad, you're 10, 12 years of age, you don't necessarily understand the importance of it at that time. And now I'd love to just be able to sit down with my dad and talk about all that type of stuff. But it was a neat journey back there in Stony Valley. There's a number of really cool towns. I think the one is called like Eagles Mere or Eagles Nest or something like that. I'm probably wrong, but it's Eagle something. Then you have the village of Gold Mine, which I want to take you guys out to at some point to visit that, because it really is a neat bit of history. And then after Gold Mine, you have the little town of Roush Gap. We were actually talking about that a little bit. There's a cemetery there. It's pretty neat. Hopefully at some point when I get an e-bike, I'll be able to take you guys out there then and show you some of these really neat things. Then you have the village of Cold Spring. There's a village with it. It had its own post office and everything. They still have a Cold Spring Township to this day, right there near Union Township. They have their own voting and everything. It's actually pretty cool. They have basically no government, which is why people like it there. So, anyways, they have, after that, it would be Yellow Springs. After Yellow Springs is Rambling Run, and then I think there's another, maybe in one more town. But these were all towns that were along the railroad tracks, the railroad line. I think it was the Susquehanna and Dauphin, and it was all coal mining through there. But Cold Springs was unique because that was more a resort town, and a lot of really cool nature stuff out there. Especially, like, I want to show you at some point. Do the hike. They have a dam out there, and that dam has a bunch of beaver dams in it, and it's just one of those unique things that you have to go out in nature and see, and just see the construction of these things, and maybe even get lucky and see some beavers. But it's a cool bit of history. So I was happy to take you guys on this journey. Missy took us out. She had contacted me and said, "Hey, do you want to go check a couple different places out?" We were disappointed. I was a bug. I don't know what the crap that was. But anyways, we wanted to go over to the Gap, and I got to figure that out. Where you have to get some kind of, I'm not quite sure what it is, but some kind of pass so you can actually go back to the National Guard Museum and some of these other buildings. So we weren't able to do that part of our plan. But regardless, it was a great journey. I want to thank you guys for all coming along with us. And we will revisit these places, like I said before, as we're able to. And maybe even we'll go in the coming months and see what we can find. But as always, I want to say thank you for coming along, and we'll see you all about town.